7 p.m. And I welcome members of the senior management team. To my right, Superintendent Eberwin. To my left, Secretary Treasurer Reed, Assistant Superintendent Mr. McKenzie, and Director of Instruction Hunter, and Director of Instruction Westfield. In addition, we have representatives of our partner groups from the Saanich Teachers Association, Mr. Peterson, from the Saanich Administrators Association, Ms. Takar. There you are down there. I don't think yet we have Ms. Megan Mizovich from COPAX, the Confederation of Parent Advisory Councils of Saanich. But welcome to her when she arrives. And online, we usually have Ms. Nola Welch from QP 441. But again, I don't think that Ms. Welch has arrived yet, but welcome to her when she does. On behalf of us all, I wish to acknowledge that we're meeting this evening on the traditional territory of the Saanich peoples who have acted as stewards of these lands for thousands of years, and that we are guests here, and that we offer this acknowledgement sincerely, respectfully, and gratefully in an effort to promote true reconciliation of our communities. Trustees, is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Trustee Hickman, seconded by Trustee Van Well. Are there any proposed amendments or revisions to the agenda? Trustee McMurphy.
As Chair, under item 16, other businesses submitted.
Yes.
I'd like to add the Peninsula Track and Field Club.
Is there a seconder for the amendment? Trustee Hickman. Any discussion on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment? Opposed? The amendment is carried. Are there any other proposed amendments, revisions, deletions, or change? Trustees, I'll put the question. All in favor of adopting the agenda as amended? Opposed? Motion is carried and the amended agenda is adopted. Prior to this regular meeting, the board held an in-camera meeting and discussed personnel matters and business affairs. Moving to item 3, trustees, we're dealing then with the regular board meeting minutes of March 15, 2023. Are there any errors or omissions to the minutes of March 15, 2023? Trustee Silzer.
Just to note one small typo at page 4 under item 14. Second line, last word, instead of ensue, I believe it should be ensure.
Right. Trustees, is there any objection to making that change, replacing the word ensue with ensure? No objection? Done, Trustee Slosser. Any other amendments, corrections? Great. I declare the minutes be adopted as amended with that change as noted. Thank you. Business arising from the minutes. Trustee Selzer?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm referring to the minutes of the board meeting of March 16th, 2022. And at that meeting, the board carried 2 motions. We adopted the motion that the board explore ways to have the Saanich Nation participation included at the board governance level, that we would explore ways to do that. And the second motion was that the board consult with the nation regarding their views on the Saanich Nation participation in School District 63 board governance, and that staff be requested to propose ways this consultation might be initiated. And so I would ask through the chair, the superintendent, what progress has been made with respect to these 2 motions.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards.
Thank you to the chair. That's a great question, Trustee Silzer. Thank you for posing it this evening. We, in consultation with Principal Austin, the Indigenous Education Principal, and the nation, have agreed that this is a topic worthy of exploration, and we will do so through the LEA, the Local Advancement Agreement meeting. We are working with the nation to set up a date for that. It is their turn to host. And once that meeting, the date and time has been set, this will be an agenda item on that, and that will be our opportunity to explore the option. I know the nation is eager to meet. They wanted to showcase their new school gymnasium and meeting rooms, and we're waiting for that to be finalized and have a date set.
Anything further on that, Trustee Sylvia?
No.
Is there anything arising from that exchange, Trustee? Thank you. We'll move then to item 5, presentations, delegations, and questions. We have 2 presentations this evening. First is with respect to Youth Work in Trades award winners, and I'll turn it to you, Superintendent.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I have the enviable position of introducing Mr. Mackenzie, who will be spearheading this presentation this evening with both Ms. Hackman and Ms. McAfee here. So I will pass the machine here to them so that they can use the slides.
To you, Chair, and thank you, Superintendent Everwood. It is a pleasure this evening to welcome some special guests, some students of ours from the Youth Work and Trades program who have been receiving some awards, and we are grateful for this opportunity to bring these exemplary achievements to the district this evening. I'm also gratified to see such a great turnout of family this evening as well. At this time, I feel it's incumbent upon me to turn the floor over to 2 of our amazing career teacher leads, Ms. Heidi Hackman and Ms. Colleen McNamee, who will introduce our recipients and tell you a little bit about the Youth Work and Trades program and why we're so proud of these wonderful students in our school district. So over to you, amazing people.
Thank you. Before we start, I'd like to introduce, we have 2 special guests from our team as well. We have Rhiannon Cockayne, who is the career teacher at Sides, and we also have Tony Arthurs. And Tony Arthurs, if you can stand, there's Tony Arthurs. Tony Arthurs is with the Ministry of Education, and he is the youth apprentice coordinator with the Ministry of Education. So he signs the checks that we're all getting. So, we love I think the next. Oh, here we go. Oh, here we go, Heidi. There we go.
Great.
Yeah.
So a little bit about the Youth Work and Trades program. It's a program that students can start when they're 16. And it's a collaboration between Skilled Trades BC and the Ministry of Education and Childcare. So you may see some logos that say ITA. ITA is now called Skilled Trades BC. And it's a way for students to get high school credit, but also log their hours towards their Red Seal and start their apprenticeship early.
For these students to receive this award, they first have to be registered as a youth apprentice. And as Heidi said, that can start as early as grade 10. They have to complete 4 courses, which are called Youth Work and Trades courses, 11A, 11B, 12A, 12B, and log 120 hours in each course. They have to maintain a C+ average for their graduation year. And this is why for some of them, they are finished school, they have to log over 900 hours in their trade. And they have to register those hours with the ITA. So it's pretty serious. They become young adults very early with the responsibility of having a booklet, sometimes just online, but their hours have to be accounted for. So that's a year's worth of work.
And I think our students would say they've been waiting for these checks for a while. It does take a lot of time. But I would say actually we're the start of the scholarship and graduation season maybe for this year. That's how we could look at it, that you're the first ones to get scholarships this year.
Yes.
And so, yeah, this year we had 19 students achieve that mark. And not everyone is here. We will be calling them up out in alphabetical order. The way they are listed on the slides is by school. And so you'll see there that like Dylan's is Camosun and electricals. That means he did a foundation or level 1 program at Camosun that was sponsored by the school district, and then did his electrical apprenticeship. You'll see other ones like our task and techs. So those are our trade sampler programs where students started there and then moved on into their apprenticeship or into another program.
Perfect.
So we're super proud of these students. They have worked hard. So first up.
We're going to have board
Oh,
chairs.
we are. Oh, wonderful.
board chairs.
Okay.
Okay, good.
So first up is Ari Anderson for carpentry, and he's a Stelly student.
Stelly student, come on up, Ari.
And next up is Aiden Carroll, also for carpentry. Ellie? Next up is Brianna Cooper Dick, and she was our hairstyling program. Then Tom Gabriel with culinary.
A face some people may recognize because he was written about in the Seaside Times with welding from Claremont, Riley Gaines.
All the best. Thanks.
One of my favorites from Parkland, Logan Gatto. Great, yeah, we can see the next one, yeah, you can see the next. And Adam, who I've known since he was a very tiny little baby, we got Adam Logie from Skelly. I can add a little side note, this could be taken longer, okay? And a superstar athlete from Claremont, Dawson Sears. There we go, Dawson. And from Parkland, an amazing electrician, if you need one, Logan Stetchman.
And Sam Cudway Keynes, carpentry. And Dylan McKay for electrical. And Weston McTavish, heavy duty. Okay. Okay, and some of our students aren't here, some are working in the interior, but moms are here, so I'll call up Sue Williams for Keaton Williams. Yeah.
And then we have 6 who couldn't come, and one's in Mexico, one's working. We have Marcus Waltz, Tyler Nakatsu, Bailey Montefiore, Colton Walmsley, Matthew Shelton, and Amy Rice as well. So thank you for letting us crash your parties.
I think we were the most fun.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna go have,
Just
we're gonna go
before
have
you all
cupcakes.
Just before you all leave, I'm Dave Everett, Superintendent on behalf of the district. I just want to congratulate all the students. This is a tremendous effort on your part. It takes commitment, dedication, perseverance, and most of all, maturity to accomplish these tasks. We're very proud of you. You have bright futures in front of you. We couldn't be more proud to have you at our school. Congratulations, and we look forward to keeping working on our houses and on our automobiles in the future. Congratulations to everybody and you, parents involved. Done very good work. Congratulations.
You know, they're going to have a photograph, and I think they're coming all back. Thank you, trustee. Well, wasn't that fun? Isn't that gratifying? Thank you. We have a second presentation this evening from Mr. Matthew Kemshaw. Mr. Kemshaw, you probably know that Typically, after your presentation, trustees may have some questions.
I don't think that's.
And we don't usually act on the presentation in the same meeting.
Right. I'm not expecting that.
All right,
Yeah.
there. Thank you. Feel free.
Well, yeah, hello, and thank you for this opportunity to present about the school food program that we're developing. We've been calling it Setting the Table, and I'm excited to share a little bit about some of the work that we've been doing. For almost 5 years, I've been leading a collaborative of organizations, including the Mustard Seed, Victoria Community Food Hub Society, Food Share Network, Island Health, Life Cycles, and Farm to School BC. This collaborative was founded in the desire to better understand how we can come alongside school districts in the capital region to support them in building healthy school food environments. So 2 summers ago, I led a study that interviewed 27 school food champions across our region, some of whom were in this district, of course, to explore what we might be able to do to help. And following from this study, we began discussions with teachers, administrators, and senior leadership in the Souk School District, who were quite keen to work with us at the time, to collaboratively define some goals for advancing school food in that district. With a small portion of their family affordability funds, the Souk School District asked us to develop a pilot program, which we called Setting the Table. So Setting the Table is now delivering 200 meals per day across 8 schools in the Souk School District. All of our meals are produced in the commercial kitchen at the Mustard Seeds warehouse in Esquimalt. This allows us to access a small portion of the 8,000 to 12,000 pounds of rescued food that comes through their doors every single day. By using this free rescued food, we're able to spend more on local food and are proud to be sourcing from multiple local farms and producers, a number of whom are actually right in this community. Our unique partnerships and approach have created multiple opportunities for us to aggregate, process, and distribute food out to schools. So in addition to the 200 meals that we're daily providing, we're also providing food for 2 weekly family food markets, which run after school and provide families access to free groceries during pickup. We're also providing thousands of dollars worth of food to our high school culinary arts kitchens in School District 62, helping them produce food in-house for food security programming in those schools. We've worked with consultants to create a 5-year financial model for our project's growth, and we'll have a new society established this spring to lead this work next school year. Early voting within our team suggests this new organization may be called Flourish School Food Society. Now that's pending government approval, of course. We're actively building a plan to scale this work into the future. I did just have to insert this slide. It's a picture of the Minister of Finance serving our lunch the day before the big budget announcement this year. We were really honored to have her come and serve lunch at Ruth King there. We can go to the next slide. Our new society is going to be built to provide the following 3 services to school districts in our region. So the first is fun, nourishing meals. We're very lucky to have attracted Chef Allison Ryan to be our head chef. Allie was Spinnaker's head chef for the past 18 years. She's worked with dietitians to craft a really diverse, youth-friendly menu that we're actively testing and continuing to develop. Our price per meal is really competitive, and the product, I'm not shy to say, is really superior to the other kind of competitors in this space. Food aggregation and distribution is the second thing that we can offer. As I've already said, we work collaboratively to support efficient access to diverse local food streams, including rescued, farm-grown, and locally produced products. We partner with diverse local organizations to help connect school communities with food resources so they can stretch limited budgets and do more with food in-house. The third thing that we're hoping to do is support food literacy and infrastructure design. We support school-based staff in integrating food learning across the curriculum and highlight good practice for school food programming in our region. This includes design systems for parents to register their children in a pay-what-you-can school lunch program, helping schools design food service to fit within their unique constraints, and providing programs to dive deeper into school gardens, kitchens, and composts. We want to build this work to support the 3 school districts on Southern Vancouver Island first. Our team brings decades of experience in food security program development in this region and a wealth of valuable relationships. I'm presenting today in the hopes that the Saanich School District will be interested in working with us in the near future to explore opportunities to enhance school food environments on the peninsula
to ensure all students can access the unique flavors of this beautiful place. We started in School District 62 by organizing a half-day discussion among key leaders to set some goals and identify opportunities for community collaboration in the district school food programs. It would be really wonderful to have the support of senior leadership to help advance a similar conversation here in School District 63. I have been in some preliminary discussions with a few educators in the district already, and yeah, we are really interested in working with you guys. That's what's brought me here today. So thank you for the time, and I really do appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Kam Shah, Trustee McMurphy?
Thank you, Chair, to Mr. Kenshaw. Thank you for your presentation. Made my mouth water. Sorry. When you say you want to work with us, what do you want us to work together on?
Well, there's a number of things.
Be more specific.
I think we would love to be able to provide food to your schools if there's interest. The provincial government just announced a historic investment in school food program development with the recent budget announcement. The Minister of Finance was visiting our program the day before that announcement, and they're investing $214 million over the next 3 years to support school food program development in the province. And we have a number of, I think, really good things that we can bring to the table. We can make really great meals and deliver them to your schools. We can also support your schools who are doing scratch cooking in-house to get access to really great quality product, and also to be able to provide free product in different ways. And then we also do collaborate a lot with sort of the champions in school food program design in British Columbia and in Canada and really across the world. I'm in conversations with a number of researchers right now advising on the development of resources at the provincial level to support school food program design and development. And we do have, I would say, some expertise that we can bring to bear. So it does depend on your interests as a school district and what your schools are interested, I guess, in doing with food. But there's a number of different things that we may be able to offer to support you.
And are there monies involved in this?
Well, like I said, the provincial government has made a historic investment. So yes, there is money available for this kind of work, as I understand it. We definitely do require money to pay our staff and to make the really great food that we make, of course, and to distribute it. Everything does cost some money, as you know. We have crunched the numbers preliminarily to look at next year's growth. We're hoping to be able to provide between 800 to 1,000 meals with our capacity and our comfort for growth. And we're looking at providing those meals between like really great lunches between $6.50 and $7 a plate, which is less than the catering company that's currently serving the other two school districts. They don't, as far as I understand, serve this district. Yeah, so that, and you're asking about money, and that's kind of the figure that I think school districts are quite interested in, is what's the price per point per meal. And that's what we're looking at. We'd like to drive that cost down a little bit. $7 is to me a little bit high. I wanted it to be $5, but that's not doable for us. But as we grow and scale, and I think the Sooke School District, I just talked to them today, and they're going to be interested in probably eating all of our 8,000 to 1,000 meals that we feel comfortable in growing into this year. If you guys are really keen, we can look at trying to do something with you next year. There are other things that we can do together as well. I'm starting to ramble, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Trustee Hickman.
Yes, where would you be doing the food preparation that would service this district?
We prepare the food at the Mustard Seeds Food Security Distribution Warehouse. It's a really interesting space. It's a very large warehouse with multiple commercial kitchens. It's at 808 Viewfield Road in Esquimalt. It's fairly central in the region. We are distributing food now out to Sooke currently, and it works very well to be able to get lunches out to 8 schools in the morning. We've got a pretty good system. So I feel confident that we could deliver food from there to every school in your district. Not right away, of course, but.
And one more question. What do you use to contain the food when you bring it in that's environmentally friendly?
Yeah, so we try to avoid packaging. We're quite conscious of this. Our food is served in hotel pans, like buffet style. So our lunches consist of 3 hotel pans of food. So there's a hot entree, a salad item, and sort of like a healthy sweet item. The students have a lot of choice with these 3 items. We deliver the hot entree hot, and then the cold salad and cold sweet. It's a really, our food is fantastic. I'm not shy to say it. Allison Ryan is an amazing chef, and we're, like I said, using a lot of locally sourced product. It's really exceptional food.
Trustee Vandal.
Is there an educational component of which you might provide for families, the recipes for and the ingredients so they can become themselves?
Yeah, we really hope to be able to grow more into this kind of thing, and supporting families through schools is something that we're really interested in. In Souk District, we have been really collaborative in developing relationships with other organizations who are also doing support for families and trying to understand how we can help. And we will continue to explore those things. Our focus has been developing the food service elements that I outlined in my presentation, I guess, but there is certainly a lot of opportunity to provide educational experiences both for students and families through food. Absolutely. We're very interested in doing that. Like I said, one of the 3 pillars of this organization we're building will be food literacy.
Anything further, trustees? Well, Mr. Kemshaw, thank you for taking the time to come this evening to inform us. You're obviously very committed to this program. Looking for growth, looking for help and support. So
yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Take care. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Item 5 also, of course, as you know, contains an opportunity for members of our partner representatives or public to ask any questions, if there are any. If so, please wave your hand or push your yellow button or whatever. Thank you. I don't see any at this point. So we'll move on to item 6, which is the report from the chair. My report this evening will be a little briefer because we had 2 weeks of spring break, and I can hear the cheering and the sighs of relief already with that announcement. First, welcome back, everybody. Schools have been back for a couple of weeks now, and the weather has been unseasonably cool and wet during break and even now. But notwithstanding that, I trust that each of us had an opportunity to take some time to relax, a time of renewal, perhaps to spend some time with family or go on a short trip or participate in some activities that we normally wouldn't have the opportunity to do. These breaks are necessary to recharge and to refresh our perspective for the work we do. And so we come back and ready to run with the last couple of months through to the end of June. And so welcome, folks, for that. Second, I participated in a BC School Trustees sponsored April 6th Chairs Call, the principal purpose of which was to discuss a new resource for boards, which is called Guidelines for Public Engagement at Board Meetings. As you know, some boards and some districts have had some volatile meetings over certain issues. Some meetings have had to be canceled. Sometimes security has been called. There has been disruption and intolerance, and BC School Trustees saw this as a significant enough issue to provide some guidance to member boards. It's available on the Hub if anybody wants to read it. We are fortunate thus far here in Saanich that our discourse with our constituents and our communities has been civil and productive for the most part. Second, President Brody of BC SDA wished to announce, and I passed this on earlier, I think at committee day or at some meeting of the many, that BC SDA is considering replacing the annual Chairs Day, which is held in conjunction with the Superintendent's Secretary Treasurer's annual meeting, with 1 day per term, 1 day in the 4 years here in Victoria for chairs and vice chairs of all the 60 boards that they wish to attend, with MLAs to discuss the process of advocacy and the substance and issues of advocacy. So there was a bit of an effort to gauge support for that in the call, and we'll probably hear more about that at Academy, I would hope. And I think it's a worthwhile effort. And then third, Minister Singh attended briefly, gave us greetings. And the reason I mentioned her contribution to the call was because she is obviously well aware of the issue of unfunded inflationary costs. BC School Trustees has corresponded with her about that and lobbied the ministry about that, as of course has this board. And she offered that the ministry is dealing with that through the food programs contribution, which in my respectful view skirts the issue. But it does give us $862,000, I think that's correct, Mr. Reid, this year for food for our students, 200,000 of which can be applied to operational existing costs. As we approach the graduation season, I was gratified to participate on April 13 last week in the Parkland Grad Capstone Project. With COVID and with my schedule, I haven't been able to do that for several years. This process involved partnering with another person and interviewing, in this case, 8 students with their graduation capstone project. And I spent the first couple with Principal Russell of Parkland, and the next couple with Principal David Mark of North Sandwich Middle School, and we got through the list of 8 students. It renewed for me the appreciation that we as trustees who've been able to participate in this have for their initiative, their creativity, their preparation, production quality, and their communication and confidence. And it was really gratifying to see that as a preliminary step towards the celebration of graduation that we're going to see in June. So trustees, my friends, if you have the opportunity with Stellies or Claremont when they get ready and you're available, please take that, because it's another example of the tangible results of our work. It's most gratifying. The community budget meeting was held also on April 13 as an important part of our budget consultation process. Thank you to Bayside Middle School for hosting us. And thank you, of course, to Mr. Reid and the finance team for the preparation and delivery of his comprehensive presentation to the group present. While it was a very good meeting, I noted that it was filled principally with administrators, very few parents, very few public, very few teachers. And perhaps there had been some reassurance inferred by potential participants in that we have a proposed plan to balance our budget this year, and reductions are evident at this point. And so perhaps there was a lack of interest because of that. Perhaps there were competing matters occurring. But it became important, I think, because an advocacy theme developed through the discussions, through the presentation, and through the meeting. And in order for this board to continue with the support of the community and our partners, it's going to take their participation in advocacy as well. And so I don't want to belabor this tonight. I frankly was disappointed, despite the extensive list of invitees which the district sent, very few responded. And so perhaps that's grist for the mill for a short discussion at our April 26th advocacy planning afternoon, if trustees wish to take that on. Also, with respect to all things budget, yesterday, Trustee Silzer got to attend the Parkland Student Voice session with Mr. Reid presenting and consulting on the budget issues and the budget plan. And today, Trustee Hickman and Trustee Murphy and I were privileged to attend with Mr. Hunter Mr. Reid and Ms. Hunter at Stellies for the same purposes, first with a non-Indigenous group and second with an Indigenous group. And then I gathered that on Friday, the 21st, trustees Vandal and Van Well will be available to attend the Claremont section for the same purpose. Mr. Reid is fond of telling the students, and I think he's correct, that in some ways their voice and their input is more significant than that of any other source, and certainly adults, because they're as close to what we do as anybody is, except perhaps for teachers, of course. And then finally, tomorrow morning, I will be attending with senior staff to meet with the Wasatch School Board to obtain the Indigenous community's perspective on the budget development process as well. A reminder that the BC School Trustees Annual General Meeting will be held April 27 to 29 in Vancouver. A number of the board will be attending. I know that Trustee Van Well, our BCSDA provincial councillor, will speak to this later, but we have about 37 resolutions to consider at the meeting, so there's a lot of work to be done. The legislative committee, I think Trustee Van Well has had one withdrawn, so it may be 36. 35, all right. So we may get home on Saturday, but one never knows. Of course, we also have to elect the board of directors for the next year. And it's a wonderful time for networking and renewing friendships for those of us who've been at these things before and over the years. So we look forward to that. And then finally, as I mentioned, the afternoon of April 26th, we'll be spending a couple of hours as a board discussing on a preliminary basis the issue of developing an advocacy plan as part of our annual work plan, which is required for the board. I circulated a draft agenda last week and asked trustees to consider that for adoption this evening. And so as I complete this report, I'll welcome a motion if anyone wishes to present it to adopt the agenda. And of course, if that's the case, we can discuss it and deal with any proposed amendments if there are any. Trustee McMurphy?
I would move that the proposed agenda be confirmed. Adopted is probably not the right word.
Be confirmed. All right, thank you. Moved by Trustee McMurphy. Is there a second? Trustee Vandal, is there any discussion on that, trustees? Trustee Hickman?
I would like to add to the agenda an item that we discuss, that we make a point of discussing how to engage the public and our partners more fulsomely.
So that
I'm not
sorry?
sure what the right, no?
It's got a grammatical aversion to the word fulsome because it has two meanings and one of them's not nice. So never mind.
In a more meaningful way.
You okay with that, Trustee?
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's a meaningful contribution. All right, but let's make
I think
that
you're being fulsome.
Trustees, that's a proposed amendment to the motion to confirm the agenda. Is there any objection to that? Trustee McMurphy?
Agreed.
You're agreeing. All right. Is anybody disagree? Is it meaningless to anybody? That's adopted by unanimous consent. Are there any other proposed changes to the agenda for that? All right, Trustee Silzer.
I just don't have the copy with me, so I just like to look at it.
Hang on to that note. So I think we're proposing to add Trustee Hickman's contribution under item 4 as a final bullet. Penultimate?
Next steps.
Is it? I don't have it anymore.
I'm being full.
That's all right. I don't see any hands up for any other changes. So thank you. I'll put the question on the motion as amended to confirm this agenda with the addition of Trustee Hickman's idea for engagement. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you, trustees, for that. And that completes my report. And I'll turn to Superintendent Everwood for the superintendent's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This evening's report has a single item that I wanted to share with the board, partners in the public this evening. And it's about accessibility in our school district. Accessibility means different things to different people in terms of, it could be physical accessibility, it could be mental accessibility, it could be emotional accessibility. And I wanted to start off tonight's presentation talking about how we are responding to the accessibility within our school district. As all organizations, public and private, are required to do, we follow the BC Human Rights Code, which has explicit language around discrimination and how we're not allowed to discriminate on a number of bases such as sex, gender identity, gender expression, age, but also around disabilities, whether they be physical or other kinds of disabilities. And so not only because it's part of the law, but because it's the right thing to do, we work to be as inclusive as possible with regards to the people that enter our buildings, either as students, staff, or as the general public. We also have a district health and safety committee that meets regularly under the guidance of both Mr. Lacasse and Mr. Reed. And our partners participate in that district health and safety committee, where a number of issues or concerns are brought forward around safety issues or accessibility issues that are dealt with accordingly, whether they are dealt with through facilities or the HR department or perhaps other means within the school district. Medical accommodations are something that we deal with on a daily basis, where somebody might have either an acute or a chronic condition that needs to have accommodations made. The district works with staff and students to provide the necessary accommodations. Some student accommodations might be the need for technology or the need to have a lift in the school for transportation purposes. Or it might be a learning need that we address through either support of an individual or other intervention of some kind. For staff, those accommodations could be things such as reduced work hours, it could be location of work, it could be the type of work. It might be things as simple as a standing desk or an ergonomic chair that's provided for them. And so those are things that we do on a daily basis. And of course, the facility improvements, as we renovate spaces, as we receive capital funding for expansion or new buildings, we take into account not only the latest building codes, but opportunities to improve things such as automatic door entry buttons or ramps or wider stairwells or those types of things. Our new CDC is a great example of where we have lighting systems that can be accommodated with different tones to accommodate different learning needs of the students. And so we do those types of things, not because we have to do them, but because it's the right thing to do within the budget realities that we have in our district. I give that as background because there is a new act that came into effect in 2021 called the Accessible BC Act, which is legislation that was enacted and now requires the participation of 750 public bodies to participate in, which school districts are one of those, and which we are obviously obligated to adhere to as well. And I've asked Director Westhaver to speak more about this act, the requirements of it, the timing of it, what the implications are for our school district. He is one of two co-chairs that we will be having in our district for this committee, and I'll have him explain why we have co-chairs for it and how the act is impacting us operationally within the district. So I'll pass it over at this point in time to Director Westhaver if I can.
Sure, to the chair. May I just have a podium here, just easier for me, if that's okay? Turning my head left and right. Colleen gets to stand here, I get to stand here. You can say we shared some same space today. Yes, Mayor says, yes, thank you, Dave. Yes, as Superintendent Everwood had mentioned, I'll be co-chairing this committee with Director of HR, Robert Reed. She's absent today, and I know that she would be a part of this presentation, but this is just, I have a few slides I want to share with you, and these are the themes that I'll go through in these slides.
But it's, when I think of the Director Reed and myself, she obviously has HR perspective, and that's extremely important, as David mentioned, when we're talking about our employees and the group. And then, of course, I'm, of course, looking at this through the lens of the child as well, the students, and making sure that their needs are being met within our district. So it makes sense for the two of us, as we embark on this this new committee, to be the two that will lead this. Okay, and so when you think of some of the good work that John Horgan did when he was a premier, but he made it really clear, and I like this little quote up here: our government is taking action to create a more accessible and inclusive British Columbia. More physical and virtual, and attitudinal barriers need to be removed. So I think in all of our minds as we sit here, maybe something, resonates with us as to what that could look like, sound like, and feel like within our workspace. So we are now in the school systems, we need to comply, and we are happy to get going with our committee, which we want to get started with, obviously before the year's out. And of course, the objective of the Act is just to increase meaningful participation in the community. You're going to see that, and you're going to hear that this is not a committee of two, this is going to be, a committee of a number. Standards will be developed, and with the emphasis on service and delivery. And when we think about harmonizing this, in other jurisdictions, I'm wrong, but I think the province of BC is one of 4 provinces that have taken this on to make this a mandate. Okay. So the first thing when we think about, when David mentioned the BC Human Rights Code protects the individuals for discrimination in employment and service as the basis of disability. This act and this committee will take it another step further, focusing on, you can see the 3 themes there: disability, barriers, and impairment. So when we think of barriers, essentially anything that stops those individuals from attending work or coming to classes. That's a strong focus area. The disability, the inability to participate fully and equally in society as a result of interactions and an impairment and a barrier. And so what are the impairments? Yes, it could be physical, it could be sensory, it could be social emotional. And that is for, that is for this committee to pay attention to within the Sandwich School District. So to do this, we have some work to do. First and foremost, we do need to form a committee. And in this committee will include persons with disabilities, or those that support individuals with disabilities. Diversity, individuals representation. And the goal is to assist and to identify barriers and advising the district. So, and how to remove or potentially prevent these barriers. So it becomes a committee that will pull in a lot of this information and sort of be aware of what's happening within our schools and in our workplace. We have to come up with a plan which definitely identifies these barriers. We have to have a process with which we're receiving this information, and then how we're sharing this information would be part of the feedback mechanism, which would come back to the board in a timely manner, maybe through our monthly board meetings. So this is the requirements that we will embark on real soon. So, to develop, the first thing we would be doing is developing a terms of reference. And, in that terms of reference, it could be establishing the vision, the goals, what's the purpose, making sure that those involved in the committee are fully aware of what disability barriers and the impairments really are, really understanding the role. And we are going to be inviting participation from our partner groups. So we'll be seeking some representation from partner groups within the district. And then we need to be up and ready and running basically the 1st September of the fall. So there's a little bit of work to do in a short amount of time. But after this board meeting, the next step would be essentially to be seeking partners to be a part of our committee. Okay.
That is the essence of the report. Thank you, Director Westhaver. I'm assuming there might be some questions, Mr. Chair.
Are there any questions, trustees, on the presentation on the issue? Trustee McMurphy.
Thank you very much to Director Westhaver and also to the superintendent. And I know I'm on a line here, but at the very beginning, when the superintendent went through the list of disabilities, it made me think of one really obvious one that we are seemingly reluctant to tackle. But it's not a disability, but it's an ability, and that is the ability to pay. We so much in our school district, our so-called free public education school system requires kids to bring money, families to pay for this, that, or the other thing. And there are many families that just don't have that ability. And I know this is not the focus of this committee, so that's why I apologize for including this digression, but I just wanted to make sure that that's something that we keep in the back of our minds, because that is a huge barrier to many individuals and families when they come to think of course selection or games to play in or programs to access or whatever. They don't have the money to do it. And I think that's something that I find is very distressing in our school system, because I know that for matters of pride, for example, families will not seek help. And I understand that, because it is demeaning to have to put your kid or your personal finances on public display to say, you know, even if it's only to one person. But somehow we have to look at the fees we're charging and try and do something about that.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any questions, trustees, on this issue? Trustee Elder and then Trustee McNutt.
I have a question as to whether or not it would be beneficial. My question is to senior staff and to the board, whether it would be beneficial for there to be a board motion supporting this plan with respect to, or the process that's been developed with respect to developing a plan by September 1st and enacting it during the next school year. My view is that the board should have a place in this and some accountability. And to me, that would be by simply passing a motion supporting this direction. And I'm wondering if that would be with the favor of staff and of trustees.
Superintendent?
That's great. It's an interesting question. It's a great question. This committee, if I can just elaborate a bit more, this committee acts as a conduit of information from others, much like I would say the District Health and Safety Committee would be an input vehicle for concerns around health and safety that are then discussed at committee and feathered out to appropriate places for that to be acted upon. I see this committee acting similarly in an operational way around accessibility things. Certainly, there could be a motion from the board to support the development of a committee and the implementation of a plan. From a practical standpoint, this is a situation that staff will be leading and working on, but certainly a motion from the board to support that would be out of line.
Trustee Elder, you still have the floor if you wish.
I'll try a motion. I would move that the board endorse the proposed direction shared with the board through this report in relation to the requirements of the BC Accessibilities Act.
Is there a second? Trustee Murphy? Trustee Elder, you have the floor.
I've spoken, thank you.
All right. Is there further discussion on the motion? Trustee Silzer?
I don't think it's necessary. Mandated. The committee is mandated by the act, by the legislation. So it's kind of like saying a health and safety committee we support, or it wouldn't need a board motion. And we had a good look at this through our Human Resources Committee meeting. And I just get the gist of this whole thing is we have no choice. And we can support it. I mean, I guess there's no harm in doing it, but I don't think it's necessary.
I think that's probably true. It is required, but I think if the board passes a motion like this, it's making a statement about this, where as opposed to simple compliance. At least that's the way I see it, Trustee Silver. Trustee McMurphy?
I think Trustee Silver's correct. I mean, we have to do it, but I think the reason I seconded the motion was because I was supporting the plan that's being put forward as to how we're going to do it. So I think that's the important thrust of the motion.
The implementation. Trustee Heck?
Thank you, Chair. I'm just curious to know how how it's determined what stakeholders would be invited to participate on the committee.
Through the chair, to the board. The determination, well, first of all, when you think of our partner groups, so when you think of within our district, so we'll put out the invite, seeking those that wish to be a part of this. But then there may be some individuals that we will need to reach out to see if they have an expression of interest being on this committee. So there's no language that says it must have 8 individuals or 2. The committee size is up to us. So we will first scan our partner groups, and if we feel, I feel, and if Director Reid feels that we were missing some individuals, we may need to approach some communities, maybe an Indigenous committee, which we'll definitely reach out to, or like that one piece, individuals who support people with disabilities. We may need to do some reaching out as well.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on? Trustees, are you clear on the motion? Are you able to read it to us? Ms. Lancy?
That the board endorse the proposed direction as shared with the board through this report in relation to the requirements for the student central law.
Thank you. All right. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, Director Westhaver. Thank you, Trustee Alford.
Is that your complete report?
That does conclude my report. Thank you.
Trustees, the school successes are contained in the board pack. Is there any question or comment with respect to those? Trustee McMurphy.
I just had an inquiry about the the French gift exchange. Here it is. In the past, trustees used to be involved in that. We were invited to attend, and I know things have, over the COVID years kind of all went to with. But I'm just wondering if it was just an oversight, or if that's a practice that's been changed, that these are invited to attend.
Director Hunter.
I think it was just an oversight. I think that it was the first one back.
That's what I thought, yeah.
I will certainly pass along your request to be invited in future years.
Thank you.
My apologies for that.
No worries.
I wonder if this is ancient history, Trustee McMurphy, because I've never been invited.
Well, that's it is.
It may not have been an oversight.
Yeah, right, maybe not.
All right. Are there any, Trustee Vandal? Thank you.
Is the gift exchange?
Yes.
Right, through the chair. The French version gift exchange is a long-term practice in Sandwich, at least for as long as I've been around, which is also ancient history, where the kindergarten students are given a gift by graduating grade 12 French immersion students to kind of celebrate the graduation of the grade 12 students and also celebrate the entry into French immersion of the kindergarten students. That they do a little gift exchange, and then usually the kindergarten sings song, and it's a nice evening. So, is this for students who either grade 12? Yes, correct. Grade 12 French immersion students with kindergarten French. Full grade 12 French with the certificate. Correct.
Thank you. Trustee Silver.
This is on another topic, but under school successes.
Yes.
And there's reference under the Stellies report to the board game campaign being sponsored by student leadership. And my question is just to refresh our memories or remind us what leadership opportunities there are for high school students in SD 62.
If I could ask Assistant Superintendent McKenzie to refer to that because because I want him to.
He's looking like a dude.
Did he let you know in advance?
Everyone always debriefs us with this kind of information. So through the chair to Trustee Silver, there are numerous opportunities for leadership through our curriculum, through program offerings at each of our brick and mortar schools. At Stelli's, there's a social leadership program, Global Perspectives 11 and 12, and Indigenous leadership as well. We also have at Claremont our Pursuit of Excellence programs and the Institutes for Global Solutions. And at Parkland as well, there's a leadership program that runs throughout the course of the year. So there are curricular pieces for which students have, I think, I would say a veritable cornucopia of leadership opportunities. But in addition to that, there are also through clubs and co-curricular opportunities, through participatory opportunities, places for students to give consideration and opportunity to extend their leadership in various clubs that we have around social justice, environmental, sports, and just advocacy. So I feel that there's a real strong range of program opportunities, both from a curriculum standpoint and a co-curricular opportunity as well.
As a member of the BCSTA Scholarship Committee, I had to review 68 scholarship applications. And it's a citizenship scholarship. And all the 68, or almost all of those applications refer to leadership courses or leadership clubs. So my follow-up question is, are our leadership courses provincial or BA courses?
So we have BA courses and we have the provincial courses as well, yes.
Okay, called leadership.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Satisfied, Trustee Sullivan? Thank you. All right, thank you. Is there any further discussion on school successes? Despite the spring break? Lots of success. Thank you. We'll move on to committee reports. Item 9, the Education Directions Committee with Committee Chair Silver.
Thank you, Chair. At our Ed Directions Committee, we had 3 presentations, all led by Director of Instruction Hunter and also colleagues. So first we learned about the reporting order that has come down from the Ministry of Education. And one of the highlights of that is that the provincial proficiency scale and descriptive feedback will be for grades K to 9. The only change in our district is that proficiency scale will now move to grade 9, but grades 10 to 12 will have their grades based on letter grades and percentages, which I believe was a concern of the university. The second presentation we had was to have student voice feedback on one of the priorities of our strategic plan, Indigenous student success. And the third was on the French immersion report, and we were really grateful to have more details on that report. We have one item for recommendation, and that is with respect to the board authority authorized courses. The staff recommendation and the committee recommended, and I, Trustee Silzer, moved that the board approve the following board authority authorized courses. And there are 10 of them. And I'm going to lump them together because you read them. So the first is cross-training 10. The next is,
Could you read it verbatim, trustee Stelzer?
Sure.
Sure, thank you.
grade 10 size. Second is individual sports training 10A, grade 10 size. The third is individual sports training 10B, grade 10 size. The fourth is individual sports training 11A, grade 11 size. The fifth is individual sports training 11B, grade 11 size. The sixth is individual sports training 12A, grade 12 size. Seventh is individual sports training 12B, grade 12 size. The last three are sports performance 10, grade 10 size. Sports performance 11, grade 11 size. And sports performance 12, grade 12 size.
Thank you. Is there a second? Trustee Van Wel. Trustee Stelzer.
Yes. So, these courses are recommended in order to take care of 30 additional students who were expecting to be enrolled from Pacific Institute of Sports Excellence. These students originally, if I'm getting this right, Principal Hayes, these students were originally enrolled in the Zouk School District. But because the Zouk School District did not obtain the provincial online school status, and School District 63 did, these students will be better served by our school district because we're a wholes now, and these courses are required for these elite athletes to complete their high school and fit with their training regimes. And if I've missed anything important,
And I think, no, I don't think you have unless people have questions.
Thank you. Trustees, is there any further discussion on the motion? Put the question then, all in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Congratulations, Mr. Hick.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, trustees. Thank you, trustee Stelzer. Moving then to finance, facilities and technology, and in the unavoidable absence of Chair Elder, it was taken by trustee Hickman. So I'll look to you, trustee Hickman, for the committee report.
Thank you, Chair. They were big shoes to fill, but I did my best. So there was nothing, no presentations and no items for discussion. We did have items for recommendation. So the first one is the 2023-24 capital plan bylaw. And I would like to make a motion that the committee recommends, and I, trustee Hickman, move that the board approve the first reading of capital plan bylaw number 2023/24-CPSD 6301.
Seconded by trustee Stelzer. Do you wish to speak to it, trustee Hickman?
No, I think we flushed that out pretty fully at committee.
Is that the case, trustees? Is there any other comment? All right, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Okay, and then the committee recommends, and I, trustee Hickman, move that the board approve the second reading of capital plan bylaw number 2023/24-CPSD 6301.
Second, trustee Stelzer. Trustee Hickman, any comment? Other trustee, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Okay, and motion to read for a third time, that the board approve the reading of capital plan bylaw number 2023/24-CPSD 6301 at this board meeting for a third time.
Seconded by trustee Stelzer. I don't know if there's any discussion. I'd simply point out, as I do when we're dealing with bylaws, that this is to be passed unanimously tonight if we're going to give final reading tonight. Otherwise, we'll have to come back. So with that caveat, is there any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Trustee Hickman,
So do I need to go on to this next line then, the third?
third and final reading, yes, please.
Okay, third and final reading of capital plan bylaw number 2023/24-CPSD 6301. That the board approve the third reading, pass and adopt capital project bylaw number 2023/24-CPSD 6301.
Seconded by trustee Silver. Any discussion, trustees? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Reed, thanks you.
My pleasure. And then moving on to item 2, 2023/24 annual facilities grant plan. So we have a motion that the board approve the 2023-24 annual facilities grant as presented at committee.
Seconded by trustee Silver. Trustee Hickman, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Again, I think we fully fleshed it out.
Any other discussion, trustees? Question, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And then items for information, we have a fiscal forecast provided by Director Sinaglia, report from the Budget Advisory Committee by Secretary Treasurer Reid, AMS Child Care Center update by Secretary Treasurer Reid, and the Park and Track update by Secretary Treasurer Reid.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we've got future agenda items, 2023-24 preliminary budget and fiscal forecast.
Thank you, trustee Hickman. Moving then to the Policy Development Committee with Committee Chair Van.
Thank you, Chair. So we did not have any presentations, no items discussed, but we did have some items of recommendations involving our transportation policy. The committee recommends, and I, Trustee Van Will, move that the board approve holding in the fall of 2023 community consultations in each of the 3 district zones on the proposed transportation policy as outlined in the briefing note of April 6, 2023.
Second, trustee McMurphy. Trustee Van Wel.
Secretary Treasury provided us with a comprehensive and well thought out transportation plan to go out for consultation with the community and our stakeholders, and I'm grateful for it. It was a good plan.
Thank you. Trustee McMurphy.
I'd like to move an amendment, Chair,
Yes.
to add after the words in the memo of briefing note of April 6, 2023, comma, and that these consultations be supported by an online survey on the proposed policy.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that amendment? Trustee Van Wel. Do you wish to speak to that?
Just briefly, this was actually in the original motion and I just forgot it. It was what the committee had agreed to.
Yes, it is. Trustees, is it safe to assume unanimous consent for the amendment? Does anyone object? Seeing no heads, it's done. We now have an amended motion. Is there further discussion on the amended motion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, trustee Van Wel.
We have some future agenda items involving political meetings, minutes by staff, policy 9, policy 3, and policy review in 2024. And that's my report.
Thank you very much. We'll move then to item 13, reports from trustee representatives. First, back to you, trustee Van Wel, as provincial councillor.
Thank you.
On the BCSTA AGM motions.
Yes, actually, you pretty much stole my thunder in your report, Chair, but I just wanted to have the motions attached as an agenda item for the public to see as we head off next week to our AGM, and we go through as part of our agenda on the items is the motions. I will say that on the agenda, our keynote speaker is the Honorable Jody Wilson-Raybould. So I'm actually quite excited to see her talk.
And with respect to these resolutions, Trustee Manuel, trustees have individual votes on those, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, that's why, in the past, when we had, when they first started out with the online voting system, it was just one person that was voting. Nobody else was willing to sit down at their computer and vote. But now everybody that is going has their own vote on all of these, so.
So we're back to normalcy and.
We're back to normalcy.
We don't need
yes.
to take a position as a board.
Exactly.
That's your advice.
That's my advice, yeah.
Thank you. Is there any question for Trustee Manuel on this? Trustee Manuel?
Yeah, well, do we take our computers then? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Because that's why you did the voting, yeah, you will use your computer for the voting, yeah.
Thank
Or
you.
an iPad.
Thank you. And then Trustee Silzer, the second item on the Family, Youth, Court and Justice Committee.
Yes, thanks, Chair. If you'll recall at our last board meeting, I reported on my attendance at the Victoria Family Court and Youth Justice Committee in February, and brought up the question or reported that the Mobile Youth Services team was in jeopardy of losing its funding. And this team works with some of the most vulnerable youth. And it consists of a Victoria police officer and a social worker. And the director of inspection, Westhaver, last month gave us some examples of how the important work that this team does. So my task from the board was to find out who funds, MIST is the acronym, and how can we advocate in favor of getting more resources for them. So what I found out is that the program is funded by the Ministry of Public Service and Solicitor General. And I found out from the executive director of the Pacific Center for Family Services Association that MIST has received a one-time funding to continue as it is for another year. Because all the funding goes on a, April to May basis. So this year they're holding their own, but next year there is a request for proposal out through the BC government for additional funding that will specifically support the schools and enable the program to expand MIST. So the funding would be for 3 years with an opportunity to renew. And the Pacific Center for Family Services is going to be trying to get that contract. And when they send in their request for information, they responded to a request for information and will submit their full proposal, at which time they would ask for letters of support. So perhaps we can put this on our agenda for the advocacy meeting. We won't know any details, but as a general matter, the kinds of things we want to advocate for, this might be something to discuss further at our meeting next week.
I'm sure you will. Let us read that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions for Trustee Silver on this item? Thank you, Trustee Silver. Moving then to correspondence, one item, the letter from Kopax, a short letter. Trustees have seen that. Do you have any questions, comments? Is there any discussion? All right. Thank you. Moving then to item 15, which is our second question period of the evening for members of the public or partner representatives, if there are any questions. Seeing none, we'll move on to other businesses submitted under item 16. Number 1 is the naming committee. Our trustee representative to that committee is Trustee McMurphy, and so I'll look to you, please, Trustee.
Yes, thanks, Chair. I'll begin with the motion. I would move that the board approve the decision to support the name Sysajet. I haven't practiced that.
Yes, you have.
As recommended by the elders, and that a display be created for the site to honor the history of the land pre and post contact.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Trustee Vandal. Trustee McMurphy.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank all the members of the committee and the agencies that participated in this process. It was it was a very healthy discussion and was a very honoring discussion too, both of the First Nations experience and ownership and occupation of the land, moving to the post-contact contributions of the families in the area who actually gifted the land to the school district. And we're in the happy position now of having the ability to establish a childcare center through the good graces of both the original inhabitants of this area and the subsequent pioneering families that settled in the area as well. And that's one of the reasons why the committee recommended that a display be created for the site to honor the history of the land pre and post contact. And there have been discussions on the committee about even the possibility of having sort of, storyboard type things placed around the building outside as well as inside, so that the continuity of the occupation of the land is part and parcel of the experience that the children will have in that facility, which, by the way, is they've already started logging it. I don't know if any of you've been by there, but the trees are going down. It's on its way, and that's pretty exciting because we're hoping, of course, to get it up and running for the fall. But we did have quite a bit of input from a number of community members as well as the First Nations on the peninsula, and the consensus of the group was the recommendation that I've put forward tonight.
Thank you. Is there, is there discussion, trustees, on the motion? Trustee Selzer.
Chair, I'm just wondering if the family descendants of the donors are here tonight.
Yes, they are, and I intended to give them an opportunity to comment after trustees, if there is any. There doesn't seem to be, so welcome. Would you like to ask any questions or make any comments before we proceed to vote on the motion? You don't have to. You don't have to, Nancy, but if you want to, we're pleased that you're here. You're honoring this decision by coming to watch the process as the culmination, really, of what your ancestor offered the district. Yeah.
I'm just happy that it's finally here and the property didn't get sold.
Yeah,
Right. And it's being used for what it wanted it to.
yeah, absolutely.
Could I ask you to introduce yourself so that we can put it in the record?
You're on Mitchell.
Yes, you are.
Nancy Mitchell. Leanne Guthrie.
Man, it's a Mitchell, not Jack Guthrie.
Big family. All right, well, thank you again for coming. And last opportunity, anything further?
Is there gonna be something about the Turner's family and further?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually have big photographs. Well, they can show this up as well in our possession.
Well, do you?
Yeah.
We'd like to see that.
If it's, yeah. We'll have to clear that with Peter, if we told him we have it, right? Peter Truger. So.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Don't go away yet. We're going to go.
The name that you chose, is that Little Bird or is that?
Little Forest.
Little Forest.
Little Forest.
That's our choice.
We haven't chosen it yet.
You're going to church.
I think it's safe.
Okay.
All right, trustees. Thank you, trustee Selzer, for bringing that to my attention as well. And is there any further discussion on the motion to confirm this name as recommended by the others? All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. It was unanimous. Thank you. That's heartwarming, trustees. We'll carry on to the next item on other business as submitted. Mr. Reid, the public notice of failure to file a disclosure statement.
Thank you. Through the chair, this is a notice that's required under the Elections Act, and it relates to a candidate who was nominated in the last election and actually withdrew prior to the election, but was nominated during the nomination period, and then failed to complete the necessary disclosures that are required, and as a result has been disqualified from running in a by-election that may occur and the next general election in this school district or any other public body. And so under the Elections Act, we're required to provide this information in an open public meeting.
But there is no action that we need to take, Mr. Reid?
No, it's simply for information.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Reid on that? And then the third item under other business, Peninsula Track and Field Club at the request of trustee McMurphy.
Yes, I have a motion, Chair.
Yeah.
The Secretary Treasurer be requested to contact the Peninsula Track and Field Club with regard to the Parkland track.
Is there a seconder? Trustee Elder? Any discussion, trustee McMurphy?
It's as everybody knows, we're in the middle of some fundraising and we're hoping to get the support of the local Sydney and North Saanich municipalities. Sydney's already agreed and we're hoping that North Saanich will as well. And because the Peninsula Track and Field Club obviously have an interest in it as well, it would be appropriate for us to have a meeting with them and discuss the various aspects of the field and the fundraising and comments about its use, etc.
Any other discussion, trustee? I'll put the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you for that. Next.
Who's the secretary?
I didn't.
Trustee.
Trustee Elder was second. Thank you. All right, trustees, guests, friends, that completes the agenda for this evening. Is there any objection to adjourning at this time? Didn't think so. Thank you. We are adjourned. All right.